Welcome to this Pastel My Business online webinar.
The report designer is basically a utility that you need to download. You need to download from the website, from the Pastel My Business online, and once you download the utility, it gives you full control, full access, and the full flexibility of customizing your documents so that they appear as you want them to be, so that you can also align them to things like your company letterheads and so on, specifying what sort of fields do you want to change fonts, what fields do you want to move around, so that you can have a custom fit layout specifically for your customer documents, which is your quotations, customer invoices, and your customer returns. Also your customer statements, you can customize those. You also have full flexibility to customize your supplier-specific documents, which would be your purchase orders, your supplier invoices, and so on, and also your supplier statements or your supplier remittances. So I'm going to go through in a bit more detail the report designer, showing you how to customize it, how you do the changes, and everything that I will be discussed today is available on the help file. So for more information regarding the utility, the My Business Online Report Designer, and or also the other downloadable utilities, they are all available on our help menu. So feel free, go through it, play with it, download it, install it, run with it, and just see how it works for you, for your business. Now, as I said, we would ideally use your report designer to customize your documents or your statements so that they are in the layouts that you want them to be. So you want to look at things like putting on messages on your quotations. An example of a message that you can put on your quotation is, this quotation is valid for 7 days. Or on your tax invoice, you'd like to add a message that says, these are the banking details, thank you for your patronage, please you can make EFT payments and these are banking details, and or any other company specific information that you require to share with your customer when you make the documents available to them. Guys, that is today's session in a nutshell. You are with Leko again this afternoon. I will be taking you through the session, and before we kick off, please be informed that all your microphones have been muted. Just to avoid any crosstalk, I'll be the one doing the talking as per usual. But if you have any questions around today's topic, feel free to pop that question through to me. I will address it while I go through the session. Alternatively, I will address each and every single question towards the end of the session, where I will go through a Q&A question and answer session. I will read out all the questions and hopefully provide you all the answers by taking you through the application, just so that you can see how it's done. Also, be informed that you will be receiving an email survey just to rate your interaction. How was your feel? How was your take? I see today we have a couple of new attendees. Guys, welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Feel free to ask me as many questions as you have around today's topic. Having that being said, it's most especially to our newer guys that we have on board with us today. Also, be informed that our previous webinars are available for you to view on our website, which is www.pastel.co.za. Under the training menu, there's Pastel webinars there. My entire series of all the webinars that I've done, from creating companies, managing users, creating items, processing, everything that we've done up until now is available for you to see. So you're more than welcome to invite as many people as possible to go through the webinars and see what's their feel and how they're enjoying the application. And also amongst the webinars there, you'll also see very powerful webinars, which is a high-level overview, which our MD, Stephen Cohen, he does in detail, which is very powerful. He goes through the entire application as a high-level overview, whereas I have gone through details per section in more of a training kind of environment. But yeah, that's basically what we've done. Guys, thank you. I hope you enjoy the session. Now, as I said in my introduction, that you may look at downloading your report designer to add additional information. Before you look at the option of adding information on the report designer, maybe you'd like to add information on the application itself. Now, to do that, this is what you'd need to do. Under the company menu, you'd need to go to your Manage Companies option. Under your Manage Company options, it will show you a list of all your companies that you have available. You select the company that you want to edit or you want to add any additional information onto by simply clicking on the edit link, and it will show you a brief outline of the company's details. Now, this is where you input all your company-specific information. So your company's contact details, your email addresses, everything specific to your company. This is where you would ideally need to set it up. And all the information that you input in here becomes available in the report designer as what we call database fields. Therefore, it is information that you can simply drag and drop onto the layout so that it pulls the information through to there. Great. Now, the first tab would be the company details. So you'd need to enter here all your address information and so on. Your financial year setup. Now, bearing in mind that our next session in the series is in concluding our series, which is our financial year end. So I will be touching on that at our next session. So I'm looking forward to having as many of you there as possible. More faces, the more the merrier. The tax system, the rounding options, the regional settings. Now, I have gone through all these settings before in my previous sessions. However, what I want to touch on briefly this afternoon is firstly, the document setup and logos. Now, this is where you would need to specify where do you want Pastel to put your logo. Now, you can either specify the position to be on the top left or the top right, or you can specify none if you don't have a company logo in those specific formats, which would be a JPEG, CGIF, PNG, bitmap, and so forth. So you just need to make sure that your logo is in that format, and then you can specify where you want it on your documentation, and then browse for the logo, and then Pastel will superimpose the logo. As you can see, the logo preview, Pastel My Business Online, that is my logo preview. Very nice. The information is there. You've got your logo on your documents. Then you have your report layouts. Now, under the report layouts, it gives you all your customer and supplier specific documents and also statements. Now, you'd notice that on the right hand side under the layouts, currently we only have the default. Now, once you've customized your documentation on your report designer, on this drop down box, you will have additional fields. So you'll have additional layouts in here made available for you to select. And once we've gone through the option together of customizing it, I'll bring you back to the screen, and now you'll see the additional reports or layouts that are there available to you. Now, just going back to the menu on top, statement messages. Now, this is where you want to enter in your messages. Now, as I said, plan A, or ideally you'd like to enter all your information in terms of the messages that you want to put on your statements. So you can simply put in all your messages in here. So if your customer is under a current balance on their statements, it will print that message, whatever message you've entered under the current message tab. The reason why we've made it also available under the report designer is because this field here is quite limited. So in terms of the number of characters that you can use, so the option of entering it on the report designer is available to you. Going on to customer document messages. Now, these are the messages that will print on your quotations, customer invoices, customer returns, if you're doing receipts, and also your customer write-offs. So you can simply enter your information in here, or the messages that you want to display along with your quotations and invoices and so on. Now, it would be quite identical for your supplier documents. These would be the messages that will go hand in hand with your purchase order, supplier invoice, supplier returns, and also your payments. And then the last two tabs would be just the document numbers and the document descriptions. Now, as I said, this is where you want to enter additional information. However, you have more flexibility on the report designer where you can go in and enter the information that you require there as well. Now, just to take you through a brief overview on what other downloads we have available, you just simply need to click on the downloads menu option. So I click on the downloads. As soon as I click on the downloads option, it will show me all the utilities that I have available. Now, as I said, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the other download utilities that we have. However, I will go into more detail on the report designer specifically. Now, as you can see on the top of the list, we've got the report designer. Not that big a file. You can just simply download, and it will download, and it will create a shortcut on the desktop for you. So it's as good as a brand new application altogether. Then the next downloadable utility is the desktop widgets. Now this is an awesome utility which can simply hover on your screen. Doesn't matter which application, which Windows operating system you're running, because widgets are actually available by default on Windows 7 machines. But even if you're using Windows XP, you can still download the widgets, and the widgets will just float over your desktop, and you'll be able to have a brief overview as to what's happening in the company. The information refreshes as quick as you allow it to refresh. I'll take you through that briefly when we go through the Pastel widgets. The next utility that we have is the desktop search, which is also referred to as a federated search. Now the desktop search incorporates or integrates into your Windows Explorer. So on your Windows Explorer button, you'll have an additional field where you can simply punch in information. If you're looking for a specific customer on the My Business Online application, without you having to actually log in, you can do a search there. Effective, saving you time, as we know time is money. So this desktop search incorporates directly into your Windows. However, it is currently limited to Windows 7 desktop users. So you need to have Windows 7 as an operating system for you to run this desktop federated search application. Lastly, what we have, which is also a very awesome utility, is the My Business Online on the iPhone. Now, it's available for you to download on this website. It's also available on the App Store, the Apple App Store. So it is available there. You can simply download the application, install it onto your iPhone, and it will allow you to then log in. You'll be able to log in as long as your iPhone has been set up for internet, mobile internet, your GPRS and so on. So you'll be able to set that up yourself, and then it will allow you to log in onto the iPhone. So you'd physically log in on your cell phone, which is the iPhone. You'd simply log in with your login credentials, your email address, your password, and then it will take you through to, do you want to see customers, do you want to see suppliers? You can simply, since it is a touchscreen application, simply touch on what you want to see. Then it will take you through to the customers. You'll be able to see your to-do list. If there's quotations that are outstanding, you'll be able to go into the quotations on your iPhone, and you'll be able to prepare them and email them off. Awesome utility. The information is there. It's available directly on your iPhone. Bearing in mind that it also integrates your links. So if there's an email address, you can simply click on your customer's email address and it will prepare an email for you. You can simply click on your customer's telephone number and it will dial that customer for you directly on your iPhone. And also if you have a web address or so on, it will link you directly using Google Maps, and it will be able to locate it as long as your Apple iPhone has got the applications necessary to run on it. So it's very awesome. It's available currently only on the iPhone. We are still looking at getting it available on other web browsers. I know most of us are using Blackberries and so on, and Nokias and whatnot. So we are still working and possibly making it available on those phones as well. Now, as I said, is that all these applications are simply downloadable from here. You simply run the applications, and it will create an additional shortcut on the desktop. Now, if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, I've got two icons there. The first one, if I'm just going to simply put my mouse on it, is the My Business Online Report Designer. Now, this shows me that the Report Designer has been downloaded, installed, and the application is now available. That's how I have the shortcuts on the desktop. But before we go into the Report Designer, very powerful tool, I want to quickly take you through the Pastel widgets. The icon at the bottom is the Pastel widget. I'm simply going to double click on the Pastel widgets. Pastel is going to check for the internet connectivity. It will require my login details. It will verify my details as I log in. And we just wait for it to update. It's retrieving the information. And there we go. This is your widget. Now, as you can see, I can drag it to wherever I want to have it on my screen. I'm dragging it, I'm moving it around. Wherever you need to have it on your screen is there. So without you even having to log into the application and see this information, you can set this up so that you can just simply log into the widget and it shows you the most recently updated information. The information is live based on how quickly you refresh the information. Now this would be what a typical widget looks like. You can further customize it by clicking on the settings button. You can close it or take it back to your choose the company that you want to open, so you can just select the different companies that you have available. However, for this widget, I'm going to take you through just a couple of other screens that we have by clicking on the scrolling to the right button on the bottom. You'll notice that this is now my to-do list. It shows me that I've got 1 expired quotation, I've got 1 overdue customer notes, 3 overdue customer invoices, and 21 overdue tax invoices. I scroll to the right, and it will take me through to my top customers by sales. Now you'll notice in the background, while I've got my Pastel My Business online application running, you'll notice the information is there. It's identical. So that top customers by sales is exactly the same as the information that you have there. And also what we've also given this widget utility is full function to drill down. So you can simply drill down to further information there. If we scroll to the right, we can have a look at top selling items. There we go. Now we've got our top selling items. As you can see on the widget, it's exactly the same as the information available directly below it on the application. Showing you all your stock items, what is your quickest moving stock, and it's there, the information is there. Convenient, it's done. And then on the widget settings. Now the widget settings, you can customize what sort of information do you want. Do you want to see a cash movement widget, customer balances? You can choose from the list of what information do you want to see to come up by default. So you can set that up so that the information populates automatically. Do you want to see current year, last year information? Now the tabs, you can also choose here by selecting which information you want to see on your widget settings. So if you want to see your cash movement, simply tick on the options you want on the left hand side. Just waiting for the screen to update from your end. And the information is there. So you can completely customize the widget so that it automatically displays the information that you require to update. Okay, so waiting for it to update. I see it keeps updating and refreshing again. Just waiting for the screen to update on your end so that we can be on the same page. Now the screen that I'm on currently is our refresh interval. You can set it up here. Do you want Pastel to refresh this widget every 1 minute, 2 minutes? You can set it up by the number of minutes. By simply saving the widget, then all your settings are then saved. The information is there, it's available on your widget. You can simply run the widget and the information is there. I'm going to close the widgets, guys. As I said previously, that all this information that I'm taking you through right now is fully available on our help file. So please go through to the help file, which is what I've highlighted right now. Go through to my help file, go to the Pastel Widgets Report Designer iPhone information, and you'll be able to read up in more detail what sort of flexibility and information is there available to you. As I said, this is a brief overview, just to touch points on key areas which I think it's important to share in this session. Now lastly, let's look at our report designer. There's my desktop icon. I simply double click on my desktop icon. Pastel verifies the application, and it will require for me to log in with my login credentials. Okay, great, I'm logging in. I'm just waiting for the screen to update on your end. Okay, I see that it is updating slowly. Great. Now the screen that I'm on now is I'm logged into the report designer. Now Pastel wants me to specify what information do I want to look at customizing or editing further. I can either customize my quotations, text invoices, returns. They are all the same layout, so it groups those together. Your customer statements, your supplier specific documents, and also your supplier statements. And for the sake of today's session, let's look at our customer text invoices and customer returns, because the information is quite the same. As soon as I've selected on the layouts to use, it will show me a list of all the layouts that I have created. So if I have previously created other layouts, they will show here in the list. I would then simply select the link on the layouts I want to customize and click on the design button. But since this is the very first default, remember the default we looked at previously and the edit companies, there it is. This is the default that it's looking at. By simply clicking on the design button, I am designing the defaults now. Just waiting for it to update. Great, I see it has updated on my end. I'm just waiting for it to refresh so that you can see exactly what I'm seeing on my side. Perfect, I see that it is updating. Now this would be your template or your default layout. This is what your quotations, your customer invoices, your customer returns are currently look like. So this would be the ideal kind of standard template that it would look like. Now if you look on the right hand side, we've got our field list. Now our field list specifies in very layman's terms so that you know what information you're looking for. So you can look under the registered information, the registered name. So if you want the registered company name, that is the field that you would need to do. All you would need to then do is drag this field and drop it. As you can see my mouse, I'm simply dragging it here for the sake of an example. There it is. I've extended that field. Now my registered company name will print in that space of my tax invoices. Obviously you can put it wherever else you want it to be. This was just an example to show you how the drag and drop option will work. By simply pressing the delete button, it removes the database fields. Now as I said, the field list is the actual database fields that we have available there. And you'll notice as well that as soon as you hover onto the space on each database field on the field list, it gives you a nice synopsis as to how you can move or use that information into your layout. Now looking at the layout itself, notice how I've highlighted the postal address number 2 field right now on the layout itself. Notice how on the right hand side of each field there's a little orange container. Now that container is what we call a database container field, which means that Pastel will pull the information through from the information that has been saved under your company information. So wherever it says postal address number 2, Pastel will go look at what you have entered under postal address line number 2, and it will pull through that information and put it there. You'll notice on the right hand side, like that number that I've highlighted now, you'll notice that that does not have a orange container, because that is a text field, which means that that is a text field that you manually enter in there. So whatever you physically put in there, that is exactly what's going to print. It's not going to pull through information from anywhere else. However, having that being said, that being numbered, on the right is the actual document number, which would then be the invoice number. You notice that it also has the orange container, which means it is a database field. It will pull through the database field from the document itself. Now, while I'm clicking through all the database fields, you'll notice how the field list on the right hand side keeps updating, because it needs to specify, it needs to show me where I am. Like right now I'm on company information 2, it shows you that under company, I'm currently selecting on company information 2. And if I need any information, say for instance, under customer's account, I'm looking for the customer's balance. I want the customer's balance to show on all my customer documents. So on the quotations, on invoices and so on. I want my customers to see what their current balance is, so they know what sort of credit limits maybe that I've granted them, or how much they still have left that they can still spend. I simply click on the balance database field, I drag it in that space, moving my mouse around. As you can see, I'm dragging the field. I realign it to where I want it to be, and that is where my customer's balance field will be. And that will be your full list on the right hand side. You also have the Report Explorer. Now, as you can see here, it also is a database field, but this is not that, it's not much understandable because it is more so for us to use and understand. I would rather recommend then that you carry on using the field list option rather. But it just gives you that that flexibility. If you are familiar with this kind of report designing utility, then you're more than welcome to use the Report Explorer field to drag and drop and move fields around. Now I'm just highlighting on my balances, on the balance field on the layout itself. Notice on the right hand side I've got my property grid. Now the property grid, this is where we would then change things like your font size, your font style. Do we want to put a line through it? Do you want to have a border around the field? What sort of information do you want to have? This is where you have full flexibility in using different fonts, different styles, different colors to enhance your layout so that it displays exactly like how you want it to display. Like for instance, right now I've got it on border the color. What border do I want? I can choose to either make it gray, like a light gray, as I've specified here. The fonts, it's currently sitting on Arial, and that's the font size. I can then change it by choosing the font I want to use, increase that, click OK. Notice the balance text field, how big it is now, well, the database field. So you would use the property grid on the right hand side to customize the information further. And as you're moving this field around, notice that the location on the property grid also changes accordingly. Now guys, here unfortunately you would need to go into it, play around with it, see what other options. It is such a powerful utility that this high level overview doesn't actually do it justice. So you would require to go in there, play around with it, and just see what sort of other information you have. Now, let's say you're happy with the information, you've put in all the parameters that you want, or you've put in all the database fields that you're looking for, you're happy with the layout as it is. By simply clicking on the Save Disk on the top left, it wants the report name. Let's call it a very basic name, let's call it Invoice. Click OK. Okay, I've left it as Invoice. And now what you can also do is, now that you've saved it as Invoice, you can still leave this section open. So the report designer, you can still leave it open, go back into Pastel, go print your reports, view it on screen. If there's certain things you want to change some more, just minimize, come back here, do your changes, save, go back into the application. So you've got that full flexibility to jump in between them so that you'll be able to see what the information that you want. Now to show you that that field has been saved and Pastel has accepted the changes, we go back into Manage Companies onto the Pastel My Business Online, the application itself. I'm going to leave the report designer to run in the background. Guys, I see that there are some questions coming through. Please feel free. I'm not ignoring you. I will go through a question and answer session towards the end of the session, and I will address each and every single question. So please feel free to pop in as many questions as I go along. Now, on the list of companies, you select the company that we want to edit. We are working in My Business, so let's edit My Business Company. Just waiting for it to update. While I wait for that to update, we just quickly go through some of the questions. Okay, now on the screen that you're on, you need to go to your documents, messages, or rather layouts, report layouts. There's your report layout. Click on the report layouts, and we've just customized an invoice. So under text invoice, notice that I not only have default now, but default and invoice. As soon as I change it to invoice, I click on the save button. Whenever I print invoices from now on, it will adopt the new changes, which has that balance field as a database field pulling through the information as required. However, your quotations, if I leave those still looking at default, then they are not customized. We'll look at the default layout. So you just need to go around here, play with it, and just see what information you have available. And yes, Daniela, I did get your question. Yes, if you have made a mistake on the report design and maybe you've done some changes and you're not quite happy with it, you are able to just go through it. You can click on the preview button on the report designer. Just waiting for the screen to update, taking you back to the report designer. Right at the bottom of the report designer, there is a designer tab and there is a preview tab. I'm going to click on the preview tab. This is what it would look like. Excuse me. And as you see, there's an example there that 1.0 would just be a typical example of what is the balance for a standard layout. So this is what it would look like. Then you can just go back into the designer and do your changes further. However, if you want to see it in the live company, you save all your settings, go into the My Business Online application, rerun, make sure that you've changed your documents, the layouts to look at the invoice that you created, and then reprint an invoice, view it on screen. The changes will be effective from the moment that you save it in the report designer and that you've selected the correct layout under the Edits Company's report layout options. And this, in a nutshell, is the report designer specifically for invoices, quotations, credit notes, and so on. Now, it would be the exact same process for your supplier documents because the layout is actually quite identical. Just for your sake, though, I want to quickly show you what the statement layout looks like. I'm going to select customer statements. There's my default. I'm going to click on the design, the default. Just waiting for it to update. No, do not want to save those settings. Great, here we go. Now this is what your statements will look like. Now the fields are quite similar, but there are some changes as well. There are database fields. There's text fields like the dates, like the page information. There's database fields with the yellow containers. And there's also the information of your statement. So what sort of information do you want to see? Now look at the messages. Now the message there will look at the message that you did set up initially. Say we wanted to enter banking details in this stage. I'd simply highlight the field where I want to enter my banking details. Let's say, for instance, I want to enter it right there in that space. So I click, hold a gap, exactly what I've done, and let go, and it calls it label 1. Okay, great. Now, once you've got the label that XR label 1, just simply double click on it. Simply double click on it, enter the information that you want, and this then becomes a text field. This becomes a text field, and the information will be there by default on all your statements and so on. And this will follow the exact same process or procedure when you need to enter a text field on your customer and also your supplier documents. So it is as simple as that. You don't necessarily need to use what we call database fields. You can enter your own text, as I've done here with banking details FNB. And by simply saving it, the information is saved. The information is done. You need to go onto the edit company information, and you make sure that your documents or your statements are looking at the right layout, and then you can start printing. All your invoices, even the ones that you're reprinting, will adopt the new layout that you have selected under the edit company's options.
Thank you for joining us for this My Business Online webinar. If you found it useful, please visit the Pastel website to find out about future My Business Online webinars or training courses. Alternatively, contact us on sales@pastelmybusiness.co.za.